welcome everyone to today's video about Eve Park and net zero living. My name is Ashley Hammerbacher and I am the Eve Park project lead. Today, I will be moderating a discussion about energy at Eve Park, identifying why Eve Park is unique and representative of what our buildings need to be like for our low carbon future. We will be exploring and diving into concepts and technologies in the design with two of our fantastic technical experts on the Eve Park team, Seungyeon Hong, our modeling and data specialist, and Elham Akhavan, our technical staff member and project manager. If you have any questions during our conversation, please type them below in the live chat box, and we're very excited to hear from you. So let's get started. A lot of our purchasers have been asking questions about a lot of the definitions that we have in Eve Park. There's net zero energy, carbon neutral, carbon negative. We're wondering if we could just get started with laying down what those definitions are and which of these terms apply to Eve Park.
Yeah, sure. So let's clear these out of the way first. A couple of those terms refer to energy. The other couple refer to carbon. So let's get started with energy. Net zero, when people say net zero, it's usually net zero energy they're talking about, which would mean that they're referring to a property or a building that only consumes as much energy as it generates within its footprint over the course of a year. And when those two amounts equal out, that's net zero energy. If you generate more energy than you use on site, then it's net positive energy. Now those energy accounting translates into carbon accounting because energy has associated carbon footprint. If you think about electricity, it comes from multiple sources: nuclear, hydro, other fossil fuel-based power plants, wind, solar. So net zero energy on an annual basis may or may not mean net zero carbon. It's one layer removed. So net zero carbon would mean that the carbon you've emitted into the air and carbon you've saved by supplying electricity back into the grid and relieving these power plants from having to run. If those amounts equal out, that would be carbon neutrality or net zero carbon. Carbon negativity would mean you're pushing back so much energy that you're allowing the grid to save on the potential carbon emission it would have had to incur otherwise. So you're really saving more than you're emitting into the air. That's carbon negativity.
Thanks, Sing, for clarifying those definitions. It's really helpful. Kind of building on that, we wanted to know a little bit more about how Eve Park is different than traditional housing in terms of energy efficiency and consumption.
Sure. First and foremost, Eve Park is different in that, contrast to traditional housing, Eve Park was designed from ground up from day one with energy efficiency and comfort of occupants and environmental footprint in mind. So that was the core design target we had to achieve. And that meant that going at lengths with academics and doing multiple months of simulation and modeling exercises, marrying that with the technology available today in the market that is also proven to be used in a building today. And that meant months of iterative design process and screening technologies to arrive at this point.
We see a couple of developments cropping up around Ontario that emphasize net zero energy. What is the most unique part of Eve Park that helps it achieve this net zero energy designation?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. This is a very important aspect of Eve Park that distinguish Eve Park from other developments is that this is an all-electric community, which means that there is no gas usage on site. And we need to know that like about 85% of the residential emission in Ontario coming from natural gas. And by offsetting this from Eve Park community, we can save a lot on our carbon emission and GHG emitted to the air. So I would emphasize on we did all the effort in our design and using all the technology and all of our engineering resources to make this happen for Eve Park, and we are proud of this.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to add that the same trend of moving forward and evolving away from fossil fuel-based lifestyle is kind of evident and obvious in automotive industry, and we are
Absolutely.
We're one of the leaders in bringing that into the residential realm.
Absolutely.
Interesting. So going on the pathway towards decarbonization and incorporating all electric technology, it seems different, but what can the purchasers expect from their experience?
So the purchaser can experience a comfortable lifestyle and a more durable building and lesser maintenance. Just an awesome experience, and it'll require less attention from the user. It'll just work, and that is how we're building Eve Park. So the most obvious example of a technology we're replacing from gas-based technology into electric is our heating. And of course, living in a cold climate, heating is very essential here, and of course, a really large piece of that energy consumption pie. We're implementing air source heat pump, variable refrigerant flow, VRF8 air source heat pump system. And what it does, now compare this to a gas furnace. Gas furnace burns gas in your home. In a bad case, it leaks into the house. Doesn't happen often, but you have to, emit this burnt gas and also associated carbon with it, and along goes heat out the chimney. Compare this with the electric air source heat pump, VRF technology. It doesn't create the heat from electricity itself, kind of like a baseboard would. Rather, it runs a compressor and picks up heat from elsewhere, drops it inside the house. And this makes the process twice, if the temperature is really low outside, up to 4, 5, 6 times more efficient than resistive heating. And VRF technology allows picking up heat from one room and dropping it in another if there's different temperature preference within the house, making it further energy efficient. And with these newer technologies, there are better control systems built in, which means the temperature will be constant throughout your stay in your house, rather than overshooting and then dropping below and overshooting again. So these are a couple examples of what you can expect from electric living.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So from what I'm hearing, it's safer, more reliable, more comfortable, better air quality, and just an overall better experience. That's great. Kind of to expand on that a little bit, we have all of this great technology, we're getting rid of natural gas, but why is it so important for Eve Park to be energy efficient and have an energy efficient design?
Sure, why do we even obsess over this to begin with? And we have a clear answer to that. Houses cost a lot of energy to run, and we don't realize it, but they are actually as energy intensive as our vehicles. So about 30% of world's natural gas gets burned in homes, 27% of world's electricity gets used in homes, and that just happens every day that you spend in a house, right? So by moving into Eve Park and into a building that's designed to offset its own environmental footprint, you're living an environmentally conscious lifestyle without having to think about it. So that's one point, and environmentally. And second is energy efficient buildings happen to be just better buildings. They're better designed, better thought through buildings, which achieve energy efficiency. So one good example again is heating. In Canada, we have to supply so much heat into the buildings because a lot of it leaks outdoors. And in Eve Park, by having a very good building envelope, tight building envelope, as well as efficient heating technology, we're able to use little energy, but keep that heat indoors, and that creates comfortable living space. So energy efficiency really equates to better buildings, more comfortable buildings, and even more durable buildings, because moisture and mold concerns are reduced in a better building.
Thank you, Seng, for that. So now that we understand a little bit more about why energy efficiency is so important and why we chose net zero energy, one of the key questions that would come up next is, what are we using to generate energy at Eve Park, and why did we choose this form of energy generation?
Sure, I can cover that. So, like what Singh said, the first pillar for the net zero was conservation on energy usage, but the next important thing is to have the energy generation to achieve the net zero. The way Eve Park generates energy on site is using rooftop solar panels. We basically do all the engineering design to capture as much roof as possible to put the solar panels on top. And the reason is that solar energy is proven to be the most reliable, safest, and cost-effective renewable-based energy solution for the residential community. And that's why we bring this into the Eve Park community experience.
Thank you for that. However, there are some misconceptions about solar, and I would love to take this opportunity to address some of those. For example, one question that we get quite often is solar an impractical source of energy for Canada? We know what our winters are like and where we have these long winter months when there's less sunlight. Why are we using solar, and is it still useful?
Oh, absolutely it is, because like I said, we use all of our engineering knowledge to do this solar design the best and the optimum way that we can to achieve the net zero. And we need to know that achieving net zero energy is that you are doing it over the course of the year. So the way we design solar for Eve Park is that we generate excess energy more than what we use in the summertime. So our generation is more than usage, and we capture that during the winter time when solar is less available, when sun is less available, so we can capture that, and that will help us that over the course of the year we will be staying net zero.
What would happen if there's a power outage? Can the solar kick in? What happens at Eve Park if there's a power outage?
That's a very important question. Eve Park is part of the what we call it microgrid community, which means the solar and the battery storage can support the residents during the outage, during the temporary outage event, to give them access to the power for their emergency services. For example, they can still operate the automated parking tower, they can park the cars or retrieve the cars back, they can have access to emergency lights, and some emergency services will be covered by this energy storage on site. So this is what makes Eve Park distinguished from other residents.
Interesting. So I heard, Elham, you mention the term microgrid. For those who are new to it, could you please explain what a microgrid is and how it works?
Absolutely. So in a nutshell, microgrid means to bring the energy generation next to your door, as opposed to the conventional method that you have power plants a couple of kilometers away from the cities and you transmit it to your home, and you pay a lot for this transmission of energy and losses happen over these kilometers. Microgrid bring the energy generation on site. You will have battery storage on site. You will capture the energy, store it on the battery, and then you use some intelligence and control, and you share that energy that you store with your community evenly, and this way you can save a lot of the losses of transmission energy, and you can also benefit from this roof that you never use, but you can now put solars and generate on site.
Interesting. Thank you for that, Elham. So looking at a lot of the trends that we're seeing right now with natural gas prices globally and electricity prices rising, one of the unique things about the microgrid and solar system could be potential inflation protections. So we're kind of curious a little bit more to hear a little bit more about how it creates and contributes to this concept of inflation-proof utilities.
Sure. Solar is inflation-proof as long as we have net metering policy in place, which means that the capital cost of solar will be recaptured over the course of over the 20 to 25 years of operation of the solar. The cost will be recaptured and it pays itself basically. So we can say it's inflation-proof. And another aspect is that because we are all electric building, we don't have any impact from increasing in the gas rates increase in Eve Park. That is another aspect. And like I said, because we save the transmission of the energy by generate on site, this is another aspect that we can also capture on inflation rates.
Interesting. Thank you for that. And so to pivot to some of the technologies within the suites, there's some additional technology that's included that might not traditionally be included in a typical build. Will this technology complicate a resident's daily routine?
It really should not, because we're not simply adding a bunch of technology to an existing home. We are redesigning a home and replacing old technology with new and better technology. And the intention is to make a safe living space that is comfortable to live in, very energy efficient, and less maintenance. So equipments do require maintenance, and that's routine. However, it won't complicate the lives of the occupants, and it'll be straightforward scheduled visits.
Will Eve Park's energy efficiency only impact the community, or does it have a greater impact?
Sure. The technologies we're talking will contribute to energy efficiency. First, because they are more energy efficient technologies, but also because we're incorporating these multiple technologies as a system. So we're looking at a building as a system, and there is an interaction between the heat that flows through windows and the stale air that has to be exhausted, and the cold air that needs to be conditioned, and the heat exchange that may happen between the incoming and outgoing air. We're considering all of that as a system, and we're squeezing efficiencies out of cutting out the excessive design or oversizing of the equipment or any of that. So that's how they contribute to energy efficiency.
I think we need to be realistic that, like, in short term, Eve Park will have a positive impact only on the community level. But we are trying to prove this concept that it can work for the harsh climate weather like Canada. So if we can do it here, it can vibrate and resonate, and other builders can see that we can do it in Canada, so we can do it everywhere else. That is the point that I think in the long term, it can have definitely positive impacts beyond the community.
Sure. The more builders copy this style, the more buildings like this go up, the happier it would be.
That is the goal of to show to the world that it could happen everywhere.
Sure, we want to be an example.
Thank you for all of those answers. So now for my favorite question, what is your favorite feature at Eve Park that contributes to net zero living? Elham, can we start with you?
I really like a lot of features on Eve Park, but if I want to pick one, is that the way Eve Park is pushing the envelopes of only living in a net zero building into promoting a net zero lifestyle. So our parking tower is one of my favorite features because it is helping us to repurpose the land. We can capture and save a lot of footprint of the parking, and repurpose it and use it for the more green space for our community.
Awesome. Sing, what about you?
Yeah, to add to Elham's point, on these vertical car stackers, we're also offering an EV share program, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the intention there is that we're going to be able to bring down the typical household car ownership from 1.8 cars per household down to 1 by being able to have residents share an electric car. But to geek out a little bit, my favorite feature at Eve Park would be the VRF heat pump technology. It's just so cool, and it enables the building to really elegantly achieve net zero energy. And if you think about it, Ontario has a harsh climate. We live in Canada. It's one of the colder countries in the world, and the fact that we're able to hit net zero energy target without stretching ourselves so much is very, very cool.
Thank you everyone for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below or visit www.evepark.ca to learn more about Eve Park and to get in contact with our team. Thank you.